reunification with family, I believe, is an internal acceptance that we're all going through this spiritual journey at different speeds, maybe on different paths, and just accepting that whatever experiences we had with our family units, extended, immediate, whatever it looks like, that it was for our highest good, and it was an opportunity to pivot us and to help us to grow. You can love someone from afar. You can send someone from afar the love that you wished you always had. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your life. You just need to decide and then do it. Hi, welcome back. It is October the 5th, 2025. Hard to believe. I can't even remember where September went, let alone the summer. Time is definitely an illusion. I am out here with the dogs enjoying the lovely crisp morning. The sun is so intense and beautiful. And I've been thinking about family lately and how we go through stages of our life. And some people will call them developmental stages, or there's many different terms to be used through psychology and counseling, and I just prefer to use simple plain language of family relationships and dynamics that evolve as you evolve. And one of the things that I really have been digging into is myself, and how looking at my parents and the experiences I had with my parents and the challenges, and then the amazing things and the terrible things and all the feelings that come with being human, and how we as a society have, I feel, been led again to detach from that sense of community and to fall into different roles and behaviors and patterns that isolated us, not only within a greater universal sense or within our interactions with the land, with other people, within systems. It's basically been to divide and conquer. That's my sense. And that's no different than being in a family system within what we have called the matrix, as a common understanding of a societal pressure cooker, where we had expectations we must follow, and we had to conform and comply, and that we would have the least resistance and receive the highest reward. And of course, that's all subject to your position. Your reward was subject to your position, not based on your level of conformity and compliance, but subject to your position and how worthy you were deemed to be. And so within a family, it's no different, because we've all been a part of this system. And part of the expectation, as I see it, is that in the past there was a really strong sense of community, a sense of family, of depending on one another, and to be in our neighborhoods and be able to rely on our neighbors and to know them, and to be able to give and receive without having any negative consequence or feeling, that the sense of community was strong. And a traditional patriarchal family nuclear family unit, and this is traditional. It's not what I think it should be, but this is how the traditional patriarchal nuclear family would be: a mom, a dad, so a mother and a father, male and female, a son and a daughter would be the epitome of what you would want within this system, and that everyone would stay in their roles, stay in their lanes, performing in accordance to the expectations of this system. So the father would be the breadwinner, and he would go to work, and he would bring home the money to be able to purchase things. And with that money and his working outside of the family home, he becomes the breadwinner. Money as in bread. I'm sure you all know this. Giving him the power, the final say, the one that I am providing you with this home that I pay for, with the food that you eat, with the clothes that I clothe you in because I pay for them, with all of the amenities that you have, the vehicle that we drive to go places, the gas that I put in it, the sports or the activities that you want to or not want to participate in. And my wife, the mother, becomes the submissive that follows, that takes direction, just as the children do. And it's interesting how easily we have fallen into these roles over time, and then how difficult it's been for us to get out of, because there's a comfort. For those who are benefiting, why would they want that to change? Why would they want the narrative to change? And who is benefiting? Men, especially men who really fit that persona of a traditional father, breadwinner, male, because then that upholds the narrative. The more that you fit that, the more you're going to be highlighted as successful and doing so well and something that everyone should strive for. And I bring this up because in my experience, and so many others, it's just me speaking firsthand, in my experiences, once you identify, and especially I think women, we know that we have been subjugated, marginalized, manipulated, abused, mistreated. We know it. Don't think we don't know it and that we're just waking up to it. We've lived it. We've survived it. So recognizing that women have known this, and that a patriarchal system doesn't want the pushback, because then you wouldn't have subservience. People who fall into their roles and don't ask questions and just do what they're told, and to follow the leader, the breadwinner. And in my experience, many times, it's the woman who makes the most money. And yet, she is still expected to not talk about that, to pretend as though the husband, father, the male within the family, so whoever is taking that masculine, toxic masculine role, is all that and a bag of chips. That he is to be worshipped and permitted to do as he pleases, and to just be quiet about your success, and to not talk about the things that you do, and that the ways in which that this family doesn't exist without you, because that's not part of the narrative. And with any story that is attempting to lead its readers, its audience somewhere, it does not want the storyline to be hijacked and taken off course, because it makes the narrative weaker. It causes questioning. And you don't want questions in an authoritarian environment. You don't want your audience or your subservients to begin to think for themselves. You need them to just toe the company line. Just do what they're told. So when pushback happens, and pushback from anyone who is being abused, mistreated, disrespected, is going to be resisted. It's going to be dismissed. This is where gaslighting and triangulation come in. So gaslighting in the sense that you're wrong. You're not seeing this right. I'm doing this all for you, for us, for our family. I'm only thinking of us when I do A, B, and C. And your needs and your wants, those are nice, but there's things that need to happen first. You need to do your job. So resistance comes in many forms and at many stages. And this is where gaslighting comes in, of telling someone that their experiences are not true. They're invalid. They are based upon an emotion that is not worthy of being listened to, of being heard, of being acknowledged, and that it's your flaw. It's your fault that you feel this way, so you need to fix it. And it's interesting how suddenly there's this big dramatic wake-up call, because those very men who thought that they were with the in crowd, the popular kids, suddenly have realized that they were never popular and they were never in the in crowd, and they were just perpetuating the narrative, and they were only extras in a story. They weren't main characters. And so now they are offended and repulsed and upset that they have been misled and feel violated somehow for not receiving the rewards that they should get for having been complicit in the subjugation of women. Think about that. Think about that. Voices are getting louder from everywhere, in every corner. And so often, the lack of accountability of why your voice is getting louder, why you are feeling agitated and angry and upset. Why is that? And what part do you play in your own suffering? And how can you change that? So within family systems, That's an integral part of bringing families back together and sense of community. But it has to be on whole new terms, because we are not the same people. The same as anyone who is awakened to see what is really happening in their life and how they are effectively contributing to the situation so that they can remove their piece and see the picture much more clear, and moving forward to identify, what does this look like now? Because you're not the same person. You're not the same person as when you were young or at different stages that we believe ourselves to be or have been. And we even see that differently, because now we constantly have a new awareness when we're living and experiencing and growing and expanding. So family units, holding on to old stories of, well, my parents did this to me when I was a kid and I was mistreated, and so now my whole life sucks and I haven't done anything with it, even though I am an adult. I am just going to finger point at those situations, and that will be the excuse that I don't live, that I don't grow, that I don't evolve. I'm just going to blame someone else and deflect all responsibility and accountability I have over my own life. And that suits the narrative perfectly, because it keeps you ignorant. It keeps you misinformed. And it keeps you isolated from a sense of community that is authentic and real and connected. As with anything and anyone, everyone evolves and changes and has different experiences and projects different experiences and mirrors back and reflects all the things uniquely to them, to their soul essence. So not every family, and I actually don't know any family that will look like that traditional family, because it doesn't exist. Once again, putting you on a treadmill to achieve this thing, that every family is going to be happy. They're always going to get along. They are always going to have each other's back. They're going to say the right thing every single time, which means you too. You must say the right thing every single time. How realistic is that? That you're never going to hurt someone's feelings. That you're always going to know how someone is doing what they need, what they're thinking, what they want, and you're going to shapeshift into that thing every single second of your life that you come into contact with them. In what universe is that going to happen? So accepting that we are all evolving and growing, some faster than others, some in different directions than we would like them to. And the reconnection with others, especially family, where of course we're going to have the most emotional experiences with family because we are with them the most. We have the most stories with them. We have the most exposure to them. So reconnecting through the old stories requires your accountability in that. And maybe you have people in your life who lack all accountability. That is not your problem. Your responsibility is your accountability. What part did you play? What have you learned? And if you say, I learned that my parents are blip, you've learned nothing. You are blaming. That's not accountability. That's deflection. That's avoidance. And you get to carry all those feelings with you forever. And it will impact every relationship that you have moving forward. And likely every relationship you don't have. Because it won't take healthy, well people very long to figure out that you are not a functional human. You are one that is stuck in a story that doesn't exist anymore, and you just keep repeating it. And accountability isn't like a one-shot deal. It's recognizing that you are human. You're constantly evolving and growing, just as those people in your family are. And just accepting where they're at, who they are, what they want. And if they don't express it, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to how you experience your life and what you do to co-create the world you want. Focus on yourself. Be present and authentic. Have empathy and understanding. And don't just excuse things because that's how it's always been. Be clear, set boundaries. Say, you know what? I see how that behavior and that experience has impacted my life. And moving forward, I will not allow that. And I'm going to directly express that to people. And if they find that uncomfortable, that me standing up for myself to allow or not allow someone to mistreat me, disrespect me, what does that say about them? And what does that say about me? Well, I can live with setting boundaries that require healthy, whole people come into my life. I can live with that. And if that means I don't have reconnection, that isn't on me. Because I am working on myself and doing everything I can to be healthy and whole. And now it's up to other people to do the same. Knowing what we know about patriarchal systems and the subjugation and marginalization of populations that don't fit that narrative. Setting boundaries for ourselves. Being very clear of what we will and will not allow in our lives. Who we will and will not allow in our lives. And recognizing that every person is going through their own experiences. And that you holding on to old stories that have been morphed through time, because it won't even be the same experience that actually happened, because now you're seeing it through your lived experiences since then. But if you're still holding on to those old stories, it's you who's carrying that burden. And you have to decide whether or not that weight adds value to you moving forward, or if you are just avoiding life and blaming it on someone else. The decision is yours. So what does a non-traditional patriarchal family look like? Well, that's the thing. You decide that. Nobody else. If you're aware of systems and structures that influenced our lives and we played our parts in it, you then get to decide, what does a family look like to you? And you live with what other people also decide for themselves, and it may not be the same thing. And if you're comfortable with your decisions, having really looked into them and to yourself and have that awareness and accountability, you'll be okay with that. There will be no finger pointing and name calling or triangulation. You'll accept it because you respect other people's opinions just as you expect that others respect yours. Once you accept that your family is human and they make mistakes and you have empathy for them, you also will receive the empathy that you're looking for. You don't want to be judged on every negative thing you have said or done, or in a fit of anger or frustration, or reacting in a way that you wish you could turn back time and not do it that way, but your ego stopped you from apologizing or making it right. You don't want that to be someone else's story forever. And you can explain that away and say, well, I was tired, or I had so many things going on. What if you also thought how your parents may have been tired, may have had other things going on, may have suffered severe abuse and trauma, and they're actually doing better than what they experienced. And it may not be much better, and it may still be horrific. But that's not your story to carry. Your story is the one that you create after that, from that, out of that experience, out of the darkness. What did you do with it? Get out of victimhood. That is where a patriarchal system wants people to be: isolated, separate, victims, weak, vulnerable, immobilized. So let that story go. Do whatever you have to do to get right with it. You need to move into it, look at it, acknowledge, what have I learned? Only take that knowledge and leave the rest where it is. It's not yours to carry if you didn't perpetuate that situation. But you do perpetuate that situation if you keep repeating it and telling people that's the reason why I am where I am. No, it's not. The reason you are where you are is because you haven't looked at the situation you've come from, what you learned, and what you can do with it moving forward. Use it as fuel, not as concrete cement on your feet, keeping you stuck. Reunification with family, I believe, is an internal acceptance that we're all going through this spiritual journey at different speeds, maybe on different paths. And just accepting that whatever experiences we had with our family units, extended, immediate, whatever it looks like, that it was for our highest good, and it was an opportunity to pivot us and to help us to grow. You can love someone from afar. You can send someone from afar the love that you wished you always had. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your life. You just need to decide and then do it. So until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay connected, and be good to yourself. See you real soon. Bye.